Where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years?
So in 5 to 10 years, I see myself surrounded by a good team of people, and I see myself also managing a group of people. I feel like I'm very determined to get to the point where I want to get, and in 5 to 10 years, I see myself working in an organization that provides good skills and adequate work environment for myself.
What is a weakness of yours and what are you doing to overcome it?
I would say one weakness of mine would be that I have a hard time saying no to people, and that I also get overwhelmed with the amount of tasks that can be present on myself, and that I like to manage a bunch of tasks together even though I should be taking them one at a time, and that I can have a hard time if someone's asking me to do something and I'm already managing something. Focusing on two things at one time can be difficult, but I try my best to always make sure it can happen.
What qualities do you feel a successful manager should have?
I feel as if a successful manager should have very good time management skills, as they'll be managing when people come in and out of work. And I also believe that they should have very good communication skills. The only way to have a successful company is having people that can communicate in an orderly fashion that makes sure people are doing what they're supposed to be doing. I also think that confrontational skills are very important as well, because when you have to let go of people, it's very difficult, but you have to be straightforward enough to make sure that they can understand the point correctly and make sure that they get the message they need to get.
Your house is burning down. There is no harm done to anyone or any pet, just personal belongings. What 3 things would you save from the house and why these 3 things?
So the 3 belongings that I would save, the first thing would be my running shoes. I only say that because running has taught me a lot of discipline in my life, and it gives me a very straightforward path. I'm someone who is very structural, so I like having a plan already set out and made for me. And I think the next thing I would bring would be hiking poles. I think it's nice to be able to get away from people sometimes and get in your own mind and kind of figure out your own self and your own sense of words. And the last thing I would bring or grab would be my wallet, because those are all of my belongings, and that is who I am as a person, is what's in my wallet.
If you were asked to do something illegal or something against your moral code, what would you do and how would you handle it?
I would only steal if it required something for my family, such as food, if we were not able to provide food on my table. And if I were to do something such as that, I would definitely make sure to, at some point in my life, if I can get back to that people, make sure I can give them what they deserve and what I stole from them.
If I were walking away and I told you that you did not get the job, what would be your last push to convince me that you deserve it?
My last push would be to tell you how determined I am and how I can very well make a change for the organization, such as the golf course that I'm applying for. I believe that I can upside the future and make it so that I can give you guys my full potential and also maximizing the full potential of the company.
What about our organization's values and mission attracted you to apply for this position?
What really struck out to me with Massanutten was their mission statement, which revolved around providing a remarkable experience for their customers and who comes to visit. And I think that's something that I've already taken with myself in the workplace that I have already worked in. I think that at the golf course I worked at previously, I tried to give the customers their best experience and the best pleasure that they can have while playing golf. And it is really noticeable when a member notices that you make an extra attempt or, an extra gesture for them that they will like, because they will really take it into appreciation and understand that we really are trying our best to give them the best remarkable experience that they can have.
What do you know about this position?
So, like I already said, I've already worked at a golf course before, and I have been in the cardboard position before. So I'm very familiar with the golf lingo, all of the manners around golf, and golf is a very high manner. You have to have very respectful manners to be working in this position, which that would already set me up well. And I believe that revolving around golf takes a lot of knowledge and skill with the sport itself. So staying up to date on players, tours, tournaments that are going on is a very important aspect because you can communicate with the members and talk to them about events that are going on, and they will respect you that you were up to date with all that stuff.
Tell me about a project or situation where you felt that the conventional approach would not be suitable. What challenges did you face implementing something suitable, and how did you handle it?
So at the last golf course I worked for, I was providing alcoholic drinks to members on the course. I would drive them out, and that is obviously not something I was allowed to do since I'm under 21. But being told to do that from your boss is something that you have to take into your own hands and kind of figure out what the deal is. And I decided that even though it is not, I guess, the right thing to do, it is something that I am told to do, and from my boss's directions, I will follow that.
Let's say you were assigned to work along with a coworker for an important project. Let's say this person contributes little to nothing, and he or she ends up getting a raise/promotion for your work.
What I would do is I would first of all speak to my manager and talk to them and explain them in a private setting that is not involved with the person who I was working with. But secondly, I don't think I would let it get to that point in the first place. I think before anything would happen, I would speak to them and say, hey, so-and-so is not doing the correct work, or they're not putting in the amount of effort that I am putting in. And I would make note of that so that when the time comes, if they're giving out raises or doing evaluation checks, I am not left in the dust with no other things to say. But I already had said earlier in it that they were not putting in the same amount of work as I am.
Describe a situation in which you had trouble completing a task, and how were you able to complete it successfully?
So one of the tasks that comes to mind was power washing. When I used to power wash driveways, I had one day where I only had about a 3-hour job to complete, but it ended up taking almost the entire day, which started at 9. So I had an oil spill through the power wash, and that created a big problem because an oil spill in a driveway is a huge liability. But not only that, I had multiple bolts missing and screws loose that required me to go to Lowe's, Home Depot multiple times throughout the day. And although the people of the home who I was power washing were not pleased that it took all day, I was still able to get the job done, get the stain removed, and make sure that they got what they wanted.
Describe your biggest work failure. How did you handle it?
I would say my biggest work failure was not realizing early enough to ask for a raise. So I had been working at this job for about 3 years before I had ever asked for a raise. And after finding out from newer employees that their starting pay was almost $3 more than what I was making currently, after an employee who has been there for 3 years, and I was considered a shift leader while working there, that was my biggest work failure. And how I handled it was I went to my boss and I talked to him respectfully. I asked him for a moment of his time, and everything went smoothly, and he did give me the raise, and he actually apologized, saying that it was long overdue. And that was something that I could definitely learn from.
If you had to choose a theme song for your life, what would it be and why?
The only song that can come to mind is Freebird. And the reason I would pick that song is because I think life goes through a lot of ups and downs, and you can hear in the song that, it's a very fast-paced song, but it's also slow. And then I think the biggest thing you can kind of take away from that song is a good feeling, being positive. But not only that, with the ending guitar solo being very strong and prominent in the song, it gets you going and it gets you motivated to do what you want to do. And I think one of the biggest things in life that you have to be persistent on is having motivation. And having motivation keeps you in line to do the rest of your life.